In today's Canadian Grand Prix, Nico Rosberg returns to F1, Ferrari has a bad pit stop, Williams gets a double DNF, and Sergio Perez makes a costly mistake. But before we start, let's go back to qualifying. Rain is coming soon, as you can see by the weather indicated on the track map, so we're going to have to go out as early as possible and try to set a lap before the rain starts falling, because once it starts falling, that's over for you. No matter how fast you drive on the intermediates, you'll never be as fast as a car on a dry track. So here we are on our out lap. You can see we wasted almost no time at all as we cut the chicane there and then led past one of the cars. Looks like the Mercedes. Then we head through the hairpin and start to warm up the tires by swerving left and right. If you look at the bottom right, you can see the temperatures increasing every time I kind of swerve the car around. So we let Verstappen past, and now we begin our lap. So this will be a bit of a guide to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, or more of a commentary, I mean. So here we are heading into turn 1, slamming on the brakes. You have to trail brake in, and then flick the car towards the right after that first left-hander, being careful on the accelerator because it can be very easy to spin the car here, as people have done before, including myself, of course, in the game. Another right-left through there as you go downhill slightly, and now you go to the right and take another corner, braking hard and trail braking in. Now the curbs on this track are actually not too bad. You can actually use them quite a bit and to your advantage, and the fact that there's always like so much space between the apex of the corner and any barriers or stuff means that it's very unlikely that you'll crash, except maybe on the exit, as you can see us getting close to the wall there as we exit through that corner. Now into the low speed section of the track, or the slowest section, which is this hairpin right here, which is then followed up by DRS detection points, which we just passed there as we exited the hairpin, and then we hit DRS right here. Now this straight is actually split into two parts. This is the first part of the DRS straight, and then you hit the braking zone for this next chicane, braking hard, going right and then left, getting close to the wall of champions, and then activating DRS again for the second part. And across the line you go with a 1:11.5. Now that isn't really a good lap, because if you look at the timing board on the top left, I'm still in last place, so we'll have to go again. So I do a cool down lap, and then I try to warm up the tires again by swerving, and you can see the temperatures on the bottom right increasing. But now we start our second lap, of course crossing the line, and then beginning this next lap, heading to turn 1 and turn the car left and right. And this is about halfway through the track. You can see almost no improvements, but take a look at the halo. You can see some raindrops starting to like move past the car there, and that's pretty much the qualifying session over, because even though it's just recently started raining, the time we lose is just insane, even when it's just like light drops. So that's pretty much it for us, I guess. So I decided to fast forward all the way to the end of the session because there really is nothing else to do right now. But you can see our teammate Nico Rosberg up there in 5th place, while we just missed out on Q2 by about 2 positions. So this track is actually the one with one of the most stops in the F1 calendar. As you can see, there are 3 stops. So I experimented with some strategies, and I just decided I'll do the opposite of what the game suggests. The game suggests soft, soft, medium, medium. I just decided I'll start with the mediums and then switch to the softs, because we're like at the back anyway, so I think it's worth it to try something different. Now making our way towards the start and finish. The starting line, the starting line. Here we go, 3 lights, 4 lights and 5 lights. Boom, and there we go, lights out, and away we go. One of the Alfa Romeos there getting a slow start. We get past them very easily. Now there it is, another 3 cars, 4 cars, 5 cars, I think. Now we're actually really close to the points now. P11 and P10. Just through those first 2 corners alone, we were able to make up so many positions, and are now directly behind our teammates as we go side by side with the Ferrari. The Ferrari decides to just cede the position, and there we go, right up ahead and now into the points just in the first lap of the race. Now we try to overtake our teammate Nico Rosberg, but we failed to do so as he gets a bit more speed, but he loses a bit out on the exit. So I decide to try and use the overtake to get past, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. But now I have to defend against the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, and we stay ahead. Now ending the first lap, we now begin the second one, and then looks like there was no action there, but now lap 3, we get the DRS enabled, and this is the time when we might start to see some overtakes happening on the track as we get really close to our teammate there. He's of course on these softer tires, so we should technically be much faster through this section as we turn on the DRS and we get past him. But one thing we have made sure to do at the start of the race was to reduce the amount of fuel that we're carrying on board, which should at least make us faster through the corners as we go ahead and do an overtake there and almost spin the car as we exit there, almost crashing into the wall of champions there like Kevin Magnussen did back in, what was it, 2019 I think. But now on to the lap 6. Now DRS again, this time on Sebastian Vettel. We both have it, so the difference I'll make up with using the overtake button to try and get myself ahead, trying it around the outside, braking for the corner, and we get ahead. That's what you like to see. Now up into P8. As we see the purple sector there. Now almost going to the back of Carlos Sainz. We're struggling with control and it's only the 7th lap. Fortunately, we couldn't get in close to an overtake, but thankfully the DRS helps us to keep Sebastian Vettel right behind us, taking a slightly defensive line, and he shouldn't be able to get past us for a long time. Now onto lap 8, into the hairpin again, almost bumping into the car again. Thankfully, I managed to avoid bumping into him. The next lap, this time was a bit more safe, I guess. I didn't bump into them this time. But now lap 9. Will anything happen this time, or are we just kind of stuck in a bit of a DRS train? It's a DRS train by the looks of it, but this was actually an accidental overtake. I was just braking normally, but it turns out he was actually slowing down a bit so we couldn't bump into the Red Bull. But thankfully we managed to take advantage of that situation and we get ahead now into P7. But you can see him there right behind us, looking through the rear view mirror. He's just pulling and gaining on us. He's going to try it around the outside, but then you'll have the inside line for this next corner. But unfortunately for him, that opportunity just doesn't come. But now we exit the hairpin on the 11th lap of the race. We're going to get DRS and we're really close to Sergio Perez. We're going to use the battery to kind of get us closer and closer to Sergio Perez. We're going to try it around the outside, but he, thankfully for him, he stays ahead, and we have to wait for another opportunity later on to try and get past. Now on the 12th lap, heading into the hairpin one more time. You can see the hairpin is really one of the more overtake friendly opportunities around this Canadian racetrack. But now we get DRS, we pull over to the side before we even get to the DRS point. Now here we are going side by side, and we're using battery to try and get myself ahead, still using a bit more, and we're still side by side, but eventually I brake just a bit later than he does and I get the overtake done very easily. Now into the hairpin again, another overtake, this time on the Mercedes, super easy, and we get past on the hairpin with almost no trouble at all. And because of the cars in front of us, I still managed to get some DRS, and he should no longer be a threat to us, or looks like it. But now we actually go defensive just to make sure he doesn't try anything fancy around the inside, and we stay ahead. Now it is lap 13, racing against Pierre Gasly. Now we go ahead and send it down the inside, and we have a very easy and drama-free overtake. Now we're actually up into the podium positions now, P3, as we head through the 16th lap of the race. Looks like we might even have an opportunity to win this, as we now chase past Lewis Hamilton, and we send it down the inside and try and get another overtake in, and that was a very nice one right there.
You've moved into P2, that's P2 now.
But obviously if you look in the bottom right, you can see my fuel is a bit low there, so even though we're gaining on Lando Norris, we will eventually have to turn down the engine and try and save some fuel. But he goes in, and lap 16 is the time when the pit stops begin as Lando Norris pits in. You can see my tires there are around 20-something% in terms of tire wear. I ran a bit wide on the 21st lap, and now this allows Max Verstappen to get past. He is, I think, on some fresher tires, and he's going to try and get past so he can lose as little time as possible as he pulls ahead of us. And for him, lucky for him, he gets a very easy overtake. And because of the nature of this track, he still gets DRS even though he's ahead, and we can no longer overtake him. But now we start our first set of pit stops, pitting in at lap 22, swapping out the first set of mediums for a second set of medium tires. And then eventually we'll finish the race with about 2 sets of soft tires as we now try to run the outside of Nico Rosberg, and now going around side by side after that pit stop, and still going there and almost bumping into each other there, and I managed to get ahead of him. That was a pretty nice one. Now it's lap 23. Now it's time for us to overtake this Ferrari again, but this time he's on medium tires, already overtaking him before we get to the DRS zone, and looks like this might be a very drama-free overtake. We keep using our battery to try and extend our lead so we can have an easy time into this final chicane, and just like that, we're up into the points again in this race. But now he's still chasing behind us. You can see him there in the rear view mirror, but he's not going to try any overtakes, and just like that, P10. And now it is lap 25, almost getting closer and closer to the halfway point. We're now getting closer to Daniel Ricciardo as he's on the soft tires. He must be wearing out or something because we are catching up to him, and we're going to send it down the inside. No DRS needed for this overtake. It's going to be a very easy time for us, and even Carlos Sainz, they're now racing him as they head through this next straight. Now lap 26, the next lap. Now it's George Russell, DRS and overtake. But he doesn't have DRS, so this should be even easier for us. We send it around the inside, and we're still side by side, but I finally get ahead, and just like that, we're up in the race. Now you can see this train of cars up front. This is going to be quite a challenge to get past, but now first one, Sergio Perez, very easy, but we struggle with traction through this exit, and you can see how much time we've lost to the guys up front. But thankfully that shouldn't be too big of a problem. But you can see Kimi Räikkönen on the side there spinning his car out. Very unusual for the AI to ever do that. But now here we go, DRS and overtake. We're going to try and get past Lewis Hamilton for the second time in this race. We're going to send it, trying the inside line, and we kind of just push him off the track there. Yeah, that was definitely something. And now P5, as we now get closer and closer to Pierre Gasly and getting closer to Max Verstappen again for the second time in the race. Now it's going to be DRS, going to use the overtake to try and get ourselves closer and closer, but it doesn't look like we're going to have the speed we need to overtake him at this chicane right here. So we're going to wait for the next lap to overtake. Still getting the DRS though. We're getting closer and closer. We're going to try it around the inside, going side by side into turn 1, braking and out braking him there, and that was a very nice overtake. Now on the next lap, Valtteri Bottas again. We've now caught up to him, and we just keep chasing him and waiting for him to make a mistake or wait for the DRS to give us a bit of that boost that we need to get past him as we race around this track. Now almost getting to the halfway point, losing the back end again there. You can see how much I'm struggling with traction through that corner. If I could redo this race again, I would probably turn down the stiffness of the rear suspension, because that would give me that grip I need to get a really good exit through that corner. As you can see us going there through the final chicane, almost getting close to the wall of champions there. Thankfully we don't crash into it, and we are still stuck behind him as we go through this race. And you can see how important DRS is, because without DRS we would pretty much not even gain on everyone else ahead of us. But thankfully it always keeps us in contention to keep the racing a bit interesting, I guess. Now here we go, DRS again, overtake. He does not have DRS. Are we going to get closer? It's going to be quite a bit of distance for us to make up, but we send it down the inside, a very optimistic dive bomb there, and we try to run the outside now, and looks like we might just get ahead of him, and just like that, another overtake. And Jeff there suggests that we should go long with the tire strategy there. Instead of switching to the softs early, we should just push it back a bit later. And so I said okay, because I was feeling very confident with the tires, but now Valtteri Bottas is coming back for his revenge as he gets ahead there, carrying a much bigger speed than we were, and a very easy overtake for him. Now on to lap 37. Now it's Bottas's teammate who's going to be trying to overtake us. We decide to go on the defense for one of the few times on this race, and thankfully that was a great choice because Lewis Hamilton just could not get past us there, even with that DRS. Now into lap 39, 2 laps later, we now have DRS on Bottas. He has no one in front of him to give him any of that speed boost, so this should be a really good one for us. You can see as they're using up the battery to get an even bigger speed difference as we now go on the inside line, and very easy there, we get ahead before the braking zone, and just like that, we are up.
Brilliant. Nice move.
Now we're about 43 laps into the race, and
The officials are deploying the safety car due to multiple cars being stopped on track. Mind your delta. Check your...
looks like we have a safety car to switch things up. So Perez was the one who retired out of the race. This is a bit of a replay to see what happened. So he just kind of lost the back end there through one of the corners, and he just crashed out of the race just like that. And you can see some other cars there popping into the wall in that same section, which is obviously going to mean a lot of pit stops are going to be happening now, especially with a safety car. It's a great time for us to pit in as well.
We don't have the data for that, I'm afraid.
Now, unfortunately for us, we only have the softer tires, so I decided to switch to the hards and hope that I can just finish the race on one stop, because if I went for the mediums, I'd be disqualified because I only used one type of compound. But yeah, you can see the Mercedes there going for the really slow double stack. Lewis Hamilton definitely lost out a lot to that pit stop. Now it's time for us to come in, and just like that, we're out. Nico should have a very nice time since I was done so quickly. But now here's the most interesting pit stop of them all, which is the Ferrari. So as they head into the pits, you can see Carlos Sainz there up in front. It's going to be a very tight double stack. You can see Bottas leaving the pits. Then there it is, look at that. A whole pit stop just has to wait, even replacing the front wing, which costs even more time, as Charles Leclerc just has to wait there and lose so much time in positions. I don't know why Ferrari didn't make him go out, stay out, and then pit the next lap. And then even he changes the front wing. So in total, that has to be one of the longest pit stops you'll ever see in F1. And very unlucky for him.
Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit.
Now here out of the pits, we're actually racing Lance Stroll because we can go full speed here inside of the pit lane. We actually use that to our advantage and get ahead. As you can see, all the cars here on the track, as the safety car period is about to end, you can see how far down our teammate is compared to where we are. I don't know what happened, bro. Like, he should really be much higher considering where he started the race, as we now do what Max Verstappen used to do a lot in the 2021 season, just driving along the side there during the end of the safety car. But I decided to just slow down and let him pass, because driving side by side through that chicane would just slow us both down a lot. But now we restart the race. I actually lost a bit of time there because of that, but thankfully the guy who's behind us, who's Lance Stroll, is not going to be able to get past us as we head into turn 1, and that was a very drama-free restart right there. And you can see how these hard tires were just such a bad choice, because you can see how much time we were losing this entire time. Literally like an entire second was gone just in these couple of laps that after the restart. But now we have Bottas coming back for another attack. So he's gonna get DRS. I have exactly nothing but my ERS to defend. Look at him though, he's really far behind inside of that rear view mirror. But now he's gaining, so I was like, what if he tries to send it on the inside? So I just go slightly defensive just to tell him, yo, I'm ready to defend. But now he's gonna get even a bigger speed difference now. Now he's gonna try it around the inside, going side by side into turn 1. Look at that. I decided to just brake a bit later there and still go side by side with him. And now I'm slightly ahead out of that entire thing. Now heading into this next section, which honestly, you can't really go 2 cars wide into there. And I thankfully managed to get ahead there. And now in lap 50, you can see a small trend of cars starting to form from my lack of speed on these hard tires. This is Bottas's point of view. As you can see, he's still within range to attack us, especially with that next DRS straight coming in. In fact, he's getting closer before we even get to the hairpin now. I was getting a bit worried that he's going to try and overtake us into the hairpin, but thankfully we managed to stay ahead, but only for a short moment, because now he's going to try another attack on us. This time it's going to be a really difficult one to defend from, as he gets closer and closer and closer I go slightly defensive again, just to make sure he does not try any overtakes. But now he's going to get an even easier time again, just like the last couple of laps. He's going to try that on the inside. He's going to get ahead at the braking zone, and this time I unfortunately can't defend against his attack. And that is the podium position gone from us as we almost crashed there. You can see he's starting to bullet gap on us, so that is the podium gone. Imagine that, starting so far down the grid and ending up on a podium. That would have been so cool, but now Gasly tries to overtake us. We actually bump his wheel there a bit and gain a bit of damage, which is not what we want to see. As Bottas is already out of the DRS zone, we are now a very easy target to attack as Gasly tries it around the outside. Thankfully, this one's very easy to defend from because there's no way we're going too wide into that final chicane, and I therefore stay ahead just for a bit longer. So check out what happened to the Haas cars here. It's Mazepin in front and Schumacher at the back. And just like that, he just spins and have a bit of a yellow flag area there. It's Mick Schumacher. You can see by the green helmet that it's him. So you see them turn the car in and then just spin like that. Very weird mistake. I haven't seen that happen a lot. You can see all the other cars having to stop on the road in reverse. Like that, I just didn't know what to do in this situation. Like, it's a mess. But now Gasly is still there ready to attack us as we end and get closer to the closing moments of the race. As I lightly hit the grass there, which is not helping. No DRS for us this time. Here comes Gasly. He's going to take the inside line this time. No ways I can defend from that, and he's up ahead before you even get to the braking zone, and a very easy one for him as he almost, or actually lightly bumped the Wall of Champions there. Just a light brush.
No issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them.
And as always, Jeff is being completely useless with telling me any damage on the car. So now we exit out of the hairpin. Thankfully we get DRS, even though Gasly is really far ahead. This should be just what we need to keep Hamilton behind us, as we're now in 5th place. You can see nothing's going to happen through this section. Yeah, Jeff, as if like my hard tires are going to allow me to have the speed to do that. You can see Hamilton there, he's just kind of chilling in the back there. But he's just never getting close enough to try any overtakes. Now he's heading to the hairpin for the 58th time of the race. Still in the DRS, which you love to see, so he will thankfully not be under attack for longer. But Rosberg is actually caught up a bit. Now he's up into 7th place and getting closer to us as Hamilton tries it around the outside of the hairpin. But now he gets the DRS, even though he has failed the overtake, which means he should now have another opportunity to overtake through the end of this lap and even into the start of the 60th lap of the race. But he's not really gaining that much. And so that should be a temporary end to his overtakes, maybe. Yeah, he's just falling behind a lot. But what this has allowed us to do is to get closer and closer to Gasly. I'm wondering if maybe those medium tires are starting to wear out. Or maybe Gasly's just like losing some focus as we get closer and having to lightly counter steer there as we exit the hairpin after applying a bit too much accelerator.
Gasly ahead, less than a second separate you. They're on old mediums. Their tyres are 16 laps old. The time last lap was a 1 minute 12.7. You're gaining.
Honestly, if you have any tips about how to commentate better, please put them in the description, because I am still learning, and you can tell because my commentary is kind of repetitive. But now we get down the inside of Pierre Gasly, trying it around the outside. We go a bit deep into the corner, which is not what you want to see. But now heading side by side, he gets the advantage. I actually just lift off the accelerator to let him get past there, because there was no ways we're going to go side by side, because that was going to lose us a lot of time. So now we're going to get the DRS to try and overtake Gasly again as Latifi retires from the race. The first... How many DNFs have happened in this race anyways? 2 DNFs, or 1. But now defending against one of the Mercedes cars there. But now we get to see what's going on with Latifi. It was just an engine failure. Interesting. Hopefully no engine failures happen to us. That would be unfortunate. And there he is, he just retires out of the race. But you can see us, they're still ahead of Lewis Hamilton and defending against him, but making sure not to lose any time against Gasly, and we still managed to stay up close to him, which is what you want to see. But now we get to the next DRS straight. I use the overtake button. Will this be an overtake? Let's see. Can I make up this big difference that's between us and Gasly? As he moves over to defend, that means that we are going to be able to try for an overtake and actually get ahead at the braking zone, and that was a very easy overtake. None of Gasly's defense could help him there. As we have another yellow flag on the map there. Another engine failure, and by the looks of it, it looks to be another Williams car. So a Williams double DNF inside of this race. Very unfortunate for them, but it's not like they were ever fighting for any points, so yeah. But you can see as we skip forward ahead, you can see we actually didn't have too big of a difference in terms of the lap times, but Bottas was really pulling away, but kind of slowly. But now we head over to the final lap of the race. Gasly again getting a DRS, and he's not close enough to try and make a move. But you can see us now, we actually managed to save enough fuel in this race to not DNF, so that's great. But now we have this final lap to defend against Gasly. There's no one in front of us to give us the tow or the DRS, and we are on these harder tires which have given us so much trouble, and just because of the fact that they have zero speed, which is not what you want to see when you're doing such a long race. So now we use the overtake to try and extend our gap against Gasly again. You can see another yellow flag there at the hairpin. I actually don't know what happened there, so I can't really show you because I didn't have the replay. But now Gasly tries it around the outside of the hairpin. Let's see if he's going to be able to make a move and get ahead of us as we lightly bump into each other, which is not what you want to see. But now onto the exit of the hairpin, even though he is behind right now, getting the DRS might just be what he needs to get ahead and overtake us heading into the final moments of the race. Let's actually go defensive there, and Gasly has to try around the outside. Now even one of the Mercedes cars is joining in, and thankfully we managed to stay ahead. We actually have to push him off the track there to try and keep the position. But that was a really close finish there. Look how many cars were there at the finish line. So thank you for watching, guys. Subscribe for F1 22 videos, okay? I'm posting those.